Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how to enter your figures in this accounts book, which is often called the blue book due to its blue squares. It has a monthly layout with 4 pages for each month. Now the best time to do the accounts in this book is after the month has ended and you've received the bank statement. Let's start here with the sales record. I'll open the sales invoices file and go to the first invoice for the month. So I now enter the invoice date, the customer's name as it's given on the invoice, and then the last 2 or maybe 3 digits of the invoice number that you gave the invoice, and the total. Write your figures in pencil to begin with, and later when it all balances, you can ink them in. I'm using a pen here as it's easier for you to see what I'm doing. And so on until I've listed the month's sales. Now, by the way, you can see this worked example on our website, and it is also printed at the beginning of each blue book, where the pages have what I call thought bubbles, which give lots of extra advice. Okay, let's add up the sales record column. The best way to do this is with a printing calculator. Enter the figures, and at the very end, you can tear off the roll. Next, place the roll beside the figures in the book. It's then easy to check you entered the figures correctly on the calculator. If the figures match, you can then write in the total, and if there's space in the book, you can stick the roll by the column. Okay, that's the first task done. Now let's consider the columns for bank record, petty cash, and over the page, payments, which takes up this double page. These 3 columns all link together, and the last one to do must be the bank record. So let's complete the petty cash column, but only if you're using petty cash. Start with entering the amount of money in the cash box at the beginning of the month. Then enter here any money added during the month. Now, as an aside, if you use petty cash, keep it separate from all other money, or it will all get in a bit of a mess. Many people use a small cash box just for their petty cash. After this, you move on to listing all petty cash payments. Oops, I've entered an expense in the wrong place, so I draw a line through it and write it in the correct place. Carry on entering the payments. Remember that only expenditure that is wholly and exclusively for your business is normally tax deductible. You then total up. Now at the end of the month, you need to do a cash balance. You take the petty cash at the start of the month, add any money introduced, then subtract the total payments made by petty cash. If there's a discrepancy between this and the actual cash in the cash box, carry the actual figure forward to the next month and add a note here. Right, we now move to the pages that list your payments by check, card, or direct banking. This information is taken from your purchase invoices file. Now, I've entered here the date of the first check, now who it was made to, the last 3 digits of the check number, and the amount. We now have to decide which category of expenses best suits this payment. This is a motor expense, so the total is entered in that column. Typical categories of expenses are listed along the tops of the columns, and there are also 6 blank columns. More advice on which column to use is given in the worked example printed in each blue book and on the sample pages given on our website. Now you can list these payments in 2 different ways. If you have a lot of check transactions and relatively few by card or direct banking, then you could list them in check number sequence with the card and direct banking entries at the end. The alternative is to list all your payments in the same sequence as they appear on your bank statement, which makes cross-referencing easier. Once all the month's payments are listed, again use a printing calculator to add up all the columns. These columns now give the expenses by type, for example, the stock you bought that month. A tip is to then add up the column totals along the bottom, as that should equal the payments total in the first column. That check should pick up any errors you've made. We're now ready to tackle the bank record column. You start with the previous month's balance at end of month, then you move on to the bankings and direct credits, which can either be in the same sequence as your pay-in book or in the same sequence as your bank statement, but do be consistent through the year. Note the reference column can be the last three figures of the bank pay-in slip or sales invoice being paid. Card transactions you process by terminal can be entered as one monthly total when the bank statement arrives. Any loan, tax refund or personal money you put into the business should be entered in the non-sales column as shown here, and so on, listing all the bankings for the month. We now move on to recording the bank direct debits, such as bank charges, any bank interest, standing orders and cash withdrawals. For those suppliers you pay by direct debit, you could record that here, but it's probably better to record those transactions on the payments pages, as that permits an analysis of the expenditure and it's easier to add to similar expenditure made by check or card. And at the end, we just total up that section. We can now do the month's bank balance. To the balance at the beginning of the month, you add this month's bankings less the direct debits and standing orders. You enter this figure, and from that you subtract the total payments from over page. This gives the balance at the end of the month, which is carried forward to be the opening balance of the next month. Now note this balance at the end of the month may differ to the balance on your bank statement, and this is due to bankings and payments that have not yet been processed by the bank. To sort this out, go to the bank statement check area below. First, write the bank balance printed on your bank statement at the end of the month. To that, add any bankings and deduct any payments not yet on the statement. The resulting figure should equal your calculated balance at the end of the month above. This check is important and you must get it to balance. It may all sound very confusing, but it will make more sense when you try it with your own figures. At the end of the year, you need to transfer the monthly totals to the year-end annual summary pages near the end of the book, or you could do this each month. There's also space in the book for other year-end tasks such as stock taking, listing debtors, creditors, and any capital expenditure. With the instructions in the book and help from an accountant, you should find your bookkeeping not too difficult.